Hola, mi nombre es Aldo y esto es Central 11. El día de hoy nos encontramos en el Munal en la exposición Otto Dix, Violencia y Pasión, a propósito del año dual Alemania, México. Y precisamente por eso le vamos a entrar a la música electrónica, en particular al tecno alemán. También veremos de qué va la narrativa database, un innovador concepto cinematográfico, y veremos qué es lo más actual de la ilustración alemana. Todo eso más adelante. Por ahora les recuerdo que si ustedes quieren volver a cachar cualquiera de nuestros contenidos de Central 11 Todoterreno, como por ejemplo el de diversidad sexual, el de diabetes juvenil o el de realidad virtual, lo pueden hacer en nuestro canal de YouTube, donde además van a encontrar todo nuestro contenido musical. Y precisamente hablando de música y para no perder la costumbre, vámonos con un poquito más aquí en los especiales musicales de Central 11 y luego volvemos desde el Munal. Durante este 2016, nuestro país tuvo la oportunidad de acercarse a diversas actividades culturales y tecnológicas de Alemania, como parte del año dual Alemania-México. Nosotros aprovechamos estos eventos para hacer un especial de personajes germanos que nos explicarán cómo está el rollo artístico y tecnológico en aquel país europeo. Bienvenidos a Central 11 Todoterreno. El día de hoy vamos a conocer un poco más acerca de Alemania y precisamente para comenzar nos lanzamos a la noche electrónica alemana-mexicana organizada por nuestros amigos de rocketsmusic.com. Este evento reunió a talento local e internacional y se llevó a cabo en un escenario post-apocalíptico de una fábrica abandonada. Ahí tuvimos el chance de platicar con Mono Lake, un personaje que es clave para el inicio y el desarrollo del tecno alemán, pero que también es el co-desarrollador del software Ableton Live, que es conocido mundialmente por su facilidad para tocar en vivo y también por su interfaz que permite convertirlo en un instrumento. Veamos que nos cuente un poquito más de esto.
I'm Robert Henke from Berlin and I produce music under the name Mono Lake. Well, when I was very young, I discovered Jean-Michel Jarre, and that was very different from every kind of music I heard before. And then I tried to figure out what other electronic music is out there, and I discovered Tangerine Dream and Kraftwerk and a lot of British synth pop, because that was in the mid-80s. And then I moved to Berlin and started to make electronic music by myself. It's influenced by a lot of things. It's clearly influenced by Berlin techno. It's also influenced by dubstep. It's influenced by breakbeats. It's a mix of a lot of things, and I don't know how to label it, but I'm happy if people dance to it. Well, as a co-developer of Ableton Live, I guess I'm partly responsible for electronic club music as it is today, but it's very hard to judge the own contribution because you only know if a lot of time passes. So in 200 years, we will know what was important and what not. I think we definitely changed the way people perform and to make it much easier for people to make music. And I think that's a good thing because it doesn't have to be complicated to do something. The art is not in the complicated things. The art is in making the right decisions. So it's not only because something is complicated, it's interesting. You can write a fantastic book with nothing but a pen. And so it's not about the tools, it's about ideas. Well, Berlin became a very international, very touristy city. And the main reason for people coming to Berlin is the club scene. So people go out and having fun. Techno is almost 25 years old. And so I personally have very, very vivid memories to times when there was a lot of discussions about electronic musicians, and we were all hanging out in the same clubs and bars, and we were listening to music and discuss it. So you have subgenres of subgenres of subgenres. You have certain labels only catering to a certain taste, and it became much more fragmented.
Continuamos desde el Munal acercándonos a la cultura alemana. Ahora vamos a ver de qué se trata la narrativa database, una innovadora forma de contar historias que es utilizada por cineastas que no se conforman con la tradicional edición cinematográfica lineal. Para eso vamos a escuchar a Florian Thalhofer, quien es un documentalista alemán que sobresale por ser el desarrollador de Korsakoff, un software con el cual el espectador tiene el chance de intervenir en la manera en la que se va desarrollando la historia, algo así como un videojuego. Vamos a conocer más acerca de este trabajo.
Hi, my name is Florian Thalhofer. I'm from Berlin and I'm the developer of Korsakoff. Database narration is a different way of structuring information. It's a very human and normal and old way of telling things. It's like in a conversation. It just has been that film became the very dominant way of telling things, and people use the linear structure to narrate. And I think that we can now use computers and tell in a way that is more human. Okay, like how I started to make Korsakov was I was studying at the University of the Arts in Berlin, and I was a student. And I was a student in the design department, and we were in a digital class. So we thought about how could computers and humans interact. And I was not interested in design. I learned that I find design quite boring. And I was interested in content. So I got interested in storytelling. And because we had so many computers around, it was a very natural thing to use computers to tell my things or to tell my stories. And I didn't know how to tell a story right, so in a way I did everything wrong. But I made use of the logic of a computer to structure a narration. And this is how everything started. So I didn't think about this is really cool and this is what people want to see. So I thought this makes sense. And I have to say, this is really crazy to make a linear documentary. Because when you make a linear narration, you have to build a structure, and the structure demands so much of the author to bend the reality into that structure. So you have to come up with all kinds of lies almost to make that film work. And I would say there is no such thing as a documentary film. Like a film, by definition, is a fairy tale. Korsakov is not portraying the reality, as it is. It's also like in a way, a construction or a simplification of things. But I think it's closer to what reality is. And I think, like this filmic narration, we can see this pattern everywhere. These topics are then put into a linear narration, into a Hollywood film almost. And the result we can see at the moment, like a soap star was elected president of the United States. That's terrible, and I think that's a consequence of the way we tell stories and the way we educate people to consume stories and to like stories.
Continuamos en Central 11 Todoterreno desde la exposición Otto Dix, Violencia y Pasión, conociendo más acerca de la cultura alemana. Ahora nos vamos a lanzar hasta la FILIG, en donde Alemania fue el país invitado de este año. Ahí pudimos disfrutar de la exposición Look, que reúne el trabajo de 30 ilustradores alemanes muy diversos entre sí. Ahí también tuvimos el chance de platicar con Sebastian Meschenmoser, quien es un autor e ilustrador de libros muy atractivos y originales. Veamos qué fue lo que nos contó.
Hello, I'm Sebastian Meschenmoser from Berlin, Germany, and I'm illustrator and author of children's books. My stories are mostly about animals, mostly about a group of animals, like friends, and they have a problem and they solve it in a way. So I would say that is something basic which is in nearly every book. But the way they solve the problems the animals are always different. And since I was very small, I wanted to become a children's book illustrator. When I finished school, I thought about studying graphic design, because in Germany you have to study graphic design to become a children's book illustrator on the classical way. But illustrating books is a very, very small part of studying there. So the most part is working with computers, working with text and typography, and this is something which is quite boring for me. And so I decided to study fine art, because in fine arts you can draw or paint all day long, and that's something I really wanted to do. Fine arts has nothing to do with illustrating books, so I somehow secretly started to make books in the semester holidays. And with my first book I finished it completely, and in the end I wrote the text, and then I brought it to the book fair in Frankfurt, and luckily a publisher took it instantly, and since then I make one book every year. Usually I make a very shabby storyboard, then I illustrate all the pictures of the book, and in the end I see where is some text missing, where do you have to explain something more, which is very comfortable for me to write as well. Or I can change the story completely or decide to make another story. So I'm not too much into the illustrator scene, and when I was making my first book, I didn't have the style or the trends in my head at the moment. Style, which I figure out, is used very often as a collage or working with a computer to color it on Photoshop or wherever. And I'm working quite classically, so I don't really care about trends, and I didn't learn a special trend or a special technique or a special style, so that's why I do classical drawings with a colored pen and pencil, which technique which all the children have at home as well, pencil and paper, so they can easily copy my technique. When I make a book, it's not to make a book for children. I make the book for the child that I have been, because I remember very well what I liked when I was small. And so it's a kind of mixture. There are some elements for adults in it and some elements for children as well. Okay, you can find my artwork if you enter my name, Sebastian Meschenmoser, or if you enter www.sebastian-meschenmoser.de, or look in the bookshops for the books from Fondo de Cultura or Panamericana.
Iniciativas como el Año Dual Alemania-México nos permiten ampliar nuestro panorama, pasando por distintas disciplinas como la música, el arte y la tecnología. Así que los invitamos a que no se pierdan la oportunidad de conocer otra perspectiva del mundo y de paso entretenerse. También los invitamos a que se den una vuelta por el Munal para visitar la exposición Otto Dix, Violencia y Pasión, en donde a través de expresivas y crudas imágenes a lápiz y wash van a poder conocer un episodio muy importante de la historia de Alemania, los horrores de la Primera Guerra Mundial. Esta exposición va a estar aquí en el Munal hasta el 15 de enero del año que viene. Por ahora, los dejamos con la programación de Central 11 y luego regresamos con algunos de sus comentarios de redes sociales. Volvemos. Ya estamos de vuelta para despedirnos, pero antes vamos a leer algunos de los comentarios que nos dejaron en las redes sociales. En esta ocasión les preguntamos si tuvieran el chance de ir a Alemania, ¿qué lugares les gustaría visitar y por qué? A ver, tenemos un comentario de Lulú Mormar y dice: la casa de Ana Frank, Erika RMZ MLS. Según yo, la casa de Ana Frank está en Ámsterdam, en los Países Bajos, pero pues sería cosa de que lo cheques. Digo, también puedes llegar a Alemania, visitar los Países Bajos y luego regresar, en fin. Tenemos otro comentario de Giovanni G. de Hernández y dice: me gustaría conocer la Catedral de Colonia, la Puerta de Brandeburgo en Berlín, el centro de Múnich y el Signal Iduna Park en Dortmund. No, pues un montón de lugares. Necesitas darte un buen tiempo para ahorrar, pero pues valdrá muchísimo la pena y sobre todo si ya te vas familiarizando con el idioma, seguro lo vas a disfrutar un buen. A ver, tenemos un último comentario, este es de Jonathan B. Osorio y dice: sin duda, siendo seguidor del género heavy metal, el Wacken Open Air es uno de los festivales alemanes que me gustaría conocer. Eso también está bien chido de Alemania, tienen un montón de festivales como por ejemplo el Rock am Ring, el Rock im Park y bueno, hay para todos los gustos y géneros. Pues yo me despido, hasta aquí sus comentarios, muchísimas gracias por sintonizarnos el día de hoy, también le agradecemos a nuestros entrevistados y por supuesto al Munal por permitirnos grabar aquí desde la exposición de Otto Dix, porque el fin de semana se pasa mejor con los amigos. Préndenle a lo bueno con Central 11.